One of the greatest fights of all times. The Muhammad Ali Rumble in the Jungle with George Foreman has received millions and millions of views, and one of the most epic knockouts ever, because Ali was not favored to win. He had been beaten by people that George Foreman had knocked silly. Muhammad Ali was beaten by Ken Norton, Joe Frazier, and George Foreman just disposed of those guys like they were schoolboys. And this epic knockout sometimes almost seems to go down in slow motion. Ali showed restraint. He could have hit Foreman on the way down, but it seems like he knew what was going to happen anyways. Ali was famous for slipping punches and pronating his punches. That means rotating your wrist inward, while George Foreman, who just literally laid waste to all of his opponents, just threw big bombs, not much technique, not much pronation. He didn't need it sometimes. And the many things that Ali did and the situations that he faced, everything seemed like it favored Ali and worked against George Foreman. Foreman was famous for pawing at his opponents, pushing them back, getting distance, keeping them off balance, and taking their guard away, and then throwing a punch as that guard was pulled away, which worked for him in most of his fights, except for this one. Ali had trained by looking at many of the films of George's fights, and with that left to right bounce would be slightly offset and give himself a shot in between this wide open guard. The pawing motion was like a slow jab, left Foreman open, but Ali would pull his hand away from that and hit the wide open George Foreman. And still, with the telegraphing punches, Ali was able to slip and move his head and keep himself safe, just barely by inches. And so by watching George dispose of these fighters, Ali developed a game plan. It was to come over the top, pronate his punches like he does so well in the first place, and take advantage of that pawing style, which left Foreman open. But Foreman was unable to control Ali's hands with that pawing motion. Ali used it against him all through the fight. The only time Foreman had really success is when he jabbed like a normal jab. Otherwise, the pawing motion, all it did was set him up to eat some of Ali's leather. And when Ali would be just slightly to the right or to the left, it would really open up Foreman to straight punches. And many times Ali's power punch was more like a jab. It was used as a straight, as an arrow type of punch. And this took advantage of Foreman's stalking. As Foreman would be coming in, the straight punch would just come from nowhere. There would be no telegraphing of that right, and Foreman coming in would run into it time and time again, and that way Ali was able to use George's forward motion against him. He would also grab and hold on. The ref would just break him at every time Ali would hold him. Ali would move back, absorb some of the punch, take the power out of the punch, and George was never allowed to have a clean shot at Ali's head. And again, that left to right motion that Ali would demonstrate would place him slightly off center and able to throw straight punches in between. Instead of being caught by Foreman's punches, they would be offset, and he was able to throw in between and over the top. towards the end, during the knockout, this is better exemplified by this straight punch. It's not a wind-up. It's not a power punch, but it's his power hand. It shoots it straight. He pronates it, turning his wrist inward, which gives you more velocity to your knuckles as you rotate your wrist from outside to inside, rolling your knuckle over right onto your opponent's face. And that coming in, that straight punch snapped George's head back and was really the end of the fight for George. Next, the grappling Ali used against George and pinned his arm and was able to club against Foreman's temple. Temple punches generally are knockout punches as well. And so Foreman, already stunned, now takes a big shot to the temple, which knocks him into the rope. His uppercut did not finish. He was staggering to the right, and Ali simply repeated the same sequence to the back behind the ear. Then he pivoted offline, out of the way, getting Foreman to follow him, and then he lets go with a 4-punch combination that ended the fight. Though the first punch, he wound up from behind his back and threw like a hybrid uppercut, catching Foreman right on the point of the chin. Again, a pronated right that this time was telegraphed, and down Foreman went, and stumbling. And Ali could have hit him right there. He could have hit him, but he didn't, to his credit. And what a sequence of punches. The other thing that helped Ali was the slack ropes. It allowed him to lean back and get out of the way of some of Foreman's long, straighter punches. Those slack ropes were a controversy in the mid-fight. The ref went to tighten them up, and of course Ali's cornerman, Angelo Dundee, went nuts. He went ape nuts, appropriate for being in the jungle, and the rest, they say, is history. But that's not it. That's not just it. The slack ropes, allowing Ali to stay out of range, sometimes even out of the frame of the camera. He was so far out of the ring. We know that helped him. But another thing helped Ali too, being able to grapple, being able to hold George, being able to lean out of the ring, being able to offset the center and throw punches in between that pawing guard. The other thing that seemed to help Ali was the quick count. And we're going to show you that count again, because when we compare it to other counts received in other fights, it's a very fast count, and it did not work to Foreman's favor, and we're going to show that. But in the meantime, here's that technique: grappling, holding, leaning on George the whole time. Well, if you're having a fight in a warm climate, wearing down your opponent should be your strategy. So Ali encouraged him to come in, taunted him constantly to get him angry, had a hometown advantage to get him angry, and then used the heat against him as well. And Foreman even commented on how tired he was, more tired than any other fight. So Ali's strategy worked. In every phase of that strategy, it was a comprehensive strategy. Slack ropes, leaning out, grappling, holding on, off center with your movement, shooting punches straight in between the guard of George Foreman. And then the quick count by the referee never seemed to hurt at all. The count was fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Foreman was getting off the ground at 8, but because he wasn't on 2 feet standing upright, the referee called the fight anyways. So I think the fast count also was helpful to Ali. Now let's contrast George's next fight. A very entertaining fight. He goes down extremely hard, and the count isn't shown here, but it's a very slow count. He comes off the canvas to knock Ron Lyle out, but watch this count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm telling you, that's a lot slower count than Foreman got during his knockout at Zaire, Africa, at the Rumble in the Jungle. And so a combination of factors you can see were used to propel Ali as the greatest fighter who ever lived, and one of the smartest. But here's that count. Very quick, very quick. That's one of the fastest 8 counts I've ever witnessed. So if you've liked this boxing breakdown, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know so I will make more videos regarding some of the greatest fights that have ever blessed our planet. It's a brutal sport, but it's a pure sport, and it's an art. And hopefully this video would show you just how artful the skill of boxing can be. Also, would like to shout out the Modern Martial Artist. He has some of the greatest breakdowns of fights on YouTube. I would love you to go subscribe to him as well. The guy does excellent work. And until next time, keep your chin tucked and your guard up.